Libra, sign number 7 in the Zodiac, is usually the beginning of begins on September 23 and runs to October 22nd. As I mentioned earlier, it's an air sign, belongs to the element of air, and they tend to be, of all the air signs and of all the signs, perhaps one of the most tactful and diplomatic. They're not rude, as we will see. They're not as impulsive. They are charming, easygoing, sociable. However, one of their biggest problems, if not the biggest problem, is that they're indecisive and gullible. They like the finer things of life. They're very gentle. They don't like violence and injustice, brutishness. This is just a basic description of a sign belonging to the air element. As I said before, all the air elements are pretty much similar in the sense that they are social. They're not introverts. They're somewhat more extrovert. They're not as impulsive and rash as the fire element. We're going to go through a little bit about the personality of the sign, how to recognize him, and as I always do, we will go through the differences between a man and a woman, some advice for the children and for the boss if you're working for a boss who's a Libra. These individuals love people. They really enjoy being around people, but they don't like big crowds. The Libra is very gentle and hates to be rude, and he's excellent. He's actually very good in mediating quarrels, making peace. But even though he likes mediating and making peace, he will enjoy a good argument. He's good-natured and pleasant, but he will balk at taking orders. That he doesn't like. He can be intelligent and gullible. Does everybody here know what the word gullible means? Naive. People can take advantage of him easily. At the same time, even though he's intelligent, he can easily fall. They can talk a lot, but they're also good listeners. They talk a lot. The air sign, remember air, Geminis? Geminis talk more than almost anyone else. But Libras can also talk. The good thing about Libras is that they are good listeners. They are restless, but they rarely rush. Now you will notice as I'm going along the first few descriptions that there seems to be a contradiction in their character. And I point this out here. The apparent contradiction in characteristics has to do with a certain inconsistency in their nature. What is Libra? The scales. And this scales has its ups and downs. Until there's a balance. When they are perfectly balanced, they are sweet, and gracious, and charming. But that part of him is only half of the time. The other half of the time he can be annoying, quarrelsome, stubborn, restless, depressed, and confused. But suddenly there will be a perfect balance, and you won't notice anything. It all depends on the scales. Are they up or are they down? Many of them, try it out, look around, find all the Libras, you will find many of them have a dimple on their face. And most of the time you will notice a smile or simply a pleasant expression. Remember last week we spoke about the Virgo? The Virgo, when you meet him, he seems to be worried about something. He's much more serious. He has something on his mind. He's trying to solve a problem. The Libra comes across when you first meet him. Nice expression. He may even have a smile on his face when you first meet him. It's a whole different... That is how we recognize them. How do you recognize somebody? There's certain features, certain characteristics that give them away, depending how true of their mazal they are. So they tend to have a pleasant expression on their face. They also have, many of them have a sweet voice. He's the only one of the signs that can say, I hate you and I will punch you in the nose without raising his voice. I use this as an example because the statement is very, strong, but he will say it without raising his voice. In a conversation, he may at first monopolize the conversation, but he will listen with great interest. Because they like to talk, they like to convince, so they may take over the entire conversation. They want everybody to hear what they have to say. They're very good at giving advice to others, but they're also good listeners. So once they're done, they will listen to you. Others don't have the patience to listen. They will listen. Why will they listen? Because they really want to make the best decision. As you will see later on, they're very careful. They really want to make the best decision. So they will listen to what others have to say. play the role of peacemaker and smooth everyone's ruffled feathers. But after they did that, they may turn around and start an argument on something else. See the contradiction? Here they're trying to make peace, they're trying to calm everybody down, but later on they'll start an argument. But this is not an argument just to argue. This is a real debate about something that they think differently. They seek harmony in everything they do and in their surroundings. That's one of the most important characteristics of a Libra. Perhaps the most important part of their nature. It's like they say, they very much want harmony, balance in their life. No extremes, no fanaticism. Everything should be just right, everything should be in its place, just perfect. They're not the perfectionists like the Virgo, right? But they need to be calm. That's very important. And you're going to see soon what happens when the Libra is not calm. He's a completely different type of person. They may easily indulge in excessive eating or indulge in other cravings. They have certain ta'avot, cravings. Sometimes they may appear lazy, but it's not true. A Libra is not lazy. What happens to them, as I point out over here, they can very much work days and weeks, become very, very busy for months, and suddenly they will just sink in their chair, tired, not want to know from anything, and expect you to take control, expect somebody else to clean up. And they will be, at that point, they will be very, very hard to move. And even if you yell at them, you won't be able to budge them, you will not impress them. This is when the scale is down and needs to recuperate his strength. But once he regains his strength, he will go back to work as before, as usual. This is what you see sometimes, inconsistencies in the Libra, all depending on not the mood that he's in, but where the scale is. They come across as two different kinds of people, but they're not a dual sign like the Gemini. Gemini is a true dual sign, capable of doing two things at the same time, two different things at the same time. Remember that? The duality of the Gemini. Libra is not a dual sign. It all depends on the situation that he's involved and where the scale is it down, is it down or up, depending how he's feeling. And the feelings have a lot to do with his surroundings. Is he happy with his surroundings? Is he happy with the people that he's with? That may make him a completely different person. His entire behavior and attitude of a Libra depends a lot if he's happy with the people he's around, if he's happy in the room, if he's happy in the work that he's doing. If not, he's a completely different person. In situations involving emotions and feelings, they can weep. I should misspell it over here. They can weep with overflowing sentiment. In other words, they can cry sometimes. But they can also turn sharply sarcastic, and a few minutes later they can be bright and cheerful again. See the scale going up and down? One moment they can be very sympathetic, overflowing with sentiment. Another moment very sarcastic, and the next they're bright and cheerful again. In health matters, they're usually well balanced and physically fit. The biggest health threat is overindulgence of some kind. Libras, there are other signs, we'll get to that next week, Scorpio is one of them too, that have a problem sometimes with overindulgence.